吸附力测试，吸附力测试，吸附力测试，禁止接触。起，咻，颠倒号码。
Nice.
Welcome back everyone, it's me Derpy. This video took a while to make. I got super unlucky and didn't get Hutao on my first 50 pulls, and I had to wait for a little bit more gems to come up during the week, but I got her on my next 10 pull, and I can finally make this full Hutao guide video. So what you saw in the intro was just a level 70 Hutao with like level 4 and 5 talents with like some decent stats. I don't even have the best stats, I don't even have the fan piece as HP percent, and I was still surprised by the numbers, and yeah. So in this video, I'll be going over everything you need to know about Hutao. I'll be going over all the builds that are good and a few little fun team comps you can run to have some fun. Hutao's elemental skill converts 30% of her current HP into attack that cannot exceed 400% of her base attack. All attacks that get changed into Pyro and charge attacks apply Blood Blossom that deal damage every 4 seconds, lasting for 8 seconds. This effect can last for 9 seconds and has 16-second cooldown and active. This is Hutao's bread and butter. This is where all of her damage will be coming from. And I won't be worrying about exceeding her base attack just because you need a lot of HP to do that and very high talent level on her E. Her ultimate deals damage in a large AoE, dealing pyro damage based on if Hutao has less than 50% HP or higher than 50% HP. Dealing more damage when she has less than 50% HP and healing more if she has less than 50% HP. The number of times you get healed depends on the number of enemies you hit, a max of 5 enemies. So if you hit more enemies, you're going to heal more. If you hit less enemies, you're going to heal a bit less. This is a very good ultimate, dealing a lot of damage and healing her at the same time. Even though the animation is a little weak in my opinion. You want to use this, her ultimate, with the E active and on low HP to do the most amount of damage, and preferably with some form of elemental reaction like Vaporize or Melt. Her first Ascension talent, after her elemental skill duration ends, all party members not including Hutao gains a 12% crit chance for 8 seconds. This is to get more damage out of our sub DPS characters when Hutao is down. Hutao's second Ascension talent lets her gain 33% more pyro damage bonus when her HP is below 50%. This is a very important talent as you want to be below 50% of HP most of the time on Hutao to get the most damage out of her. As for the talent priority, as main DPS, you should be focused on auto attack, E, and then ultimate. You want to get all the talents up to level 8 before getting ones to level 9 or 10. And if you want to do her as a more of a burst DPS, you should be upgrading ultimate and then E. I already made a Hutao video about her C6 not being very good and what her best constellation actually is. So go watch that video if you want to know more about it in detail, but here's a really quick short rundown. C1 is good if you're running out of stamina, C2 is a really nice DPS increase but nothing important, C3 is about a 300 to 400 flat attack increase, that's if you level up the talents. C4 will boost other characters' damage, C5 more burst damage potential, C6 is only good in some scenarios but nothing major. For substats, you want to mostly focus on crit rate and crit damage, and then HP percent, something like energy recharge or elemental mastery can be also pretty good to give you a little bit of extra damage and get your ult back a little bit faster, but you want to focus a lot on crit rate and crit damage. And for the main stats, the flower and the feather are locked at HP and attack respectively. And for the sandpiece, you want to be a HP percent 100% of the time. And for the goblet, you want pyro damage bonus. And for the crown, you definitely want something like crit rate or crit damage depending on your substats. If you optimize Hutao's crit rate or crit damage, the general rule is 1 to 2. Or if you have over 70% crit rate, you can focus a lot more on crit damage. You can try to get crit damage up to like 200%, which would be pretty easy. But the general rule is 1 to 2 for crit rate and crit damage. For Hutao's weapon, her best in slot weapon was obviously the Staff of Homa, no questions asked. Because Hutao doesn't scale off attack percent very well, Staff of Homa increases our HP and give us even more attack based on our max amount of HP. So this is her best in slot weapon. For second best would be the Deathmatch and the Jade Spear. Deathmatch can outdamage Jade Spear only if Jade Spear isn't fully stacked, but maintaining a fully stacked Jade Spear will outdamage the Deathmatch, but it's going to be a little bit harder to maintain. And also a reminder that deathmatch doesn't refine very well, so if you picked it once already, don't even consider picking it for the second time. It doesn't refine that well. Another really good free-to-play option is the Black Cliff. It's very good. It can't out-damage a deathmatch when at full stacks, but with the current Abyss, I do not recommend it very much, as it's not really possible to actually full stack it. Another very good weapon is the Dragon's Bane. In a pure Vaporize comp, if you run this outside of Vaporize comp, it won't work. As a high refinement, if you can get it like R5 or R4, it can't actually outdamage a deathmatch, so it's really good. But this is only in pure Vaporize comp. This is a weapon I personally probably going to be using after I've leveled up a little bit. Another weapon that works well in high refinement is Electric Spear, but you have to have 4 leeway characters. This will limit your party comp just a little bit. You can't have another amino support unless you're running Viridescent Shell for some reason. And the last option is a White Tassel. Use this only if you don't have the other weapons that I mentioned above. And your combos can be pretty limited to basically all normal attacks. So now that we know about our artifacts, stats, talent priority, and weapons we can run, let's look at animation cancel. Because most of our damage is coming from charge attacks, we will be wanting to animation cancel our charge attack animation. So the easiest way to do that is dashing. Dashing is the fastest way to do animation cancel. And you don't have to actually see the whole charge attack animation. You can actually dash cancel very soon. Dash attack animation canceling is really worth it if you're going for super short burst to do as much damage as possible in the shortest possible time. But if you don't have C1, you're going to be running out of stamina really quickly, so I don't recommend dash attack animation canceling if you want to use the full duration of her E. Another way you can animation cancel is by jump animation cancel. It's a little bit slower than dash animation cancel, but it doesn't consume stamina, so it's much better if you don't have C1, and it's also really good. So if you watch this clip here, you can actually see that you can cancel the dash pretty early. You don't have to see till the finish is dashing. So you can basically see the dash happening as a jump or dash, and you will actually just cancel it. So for most of the team comps, well, 3 out of the 4 team comps I'll be talking about, we're going to be running the Crimson Witch set. For one of the comps, we're going to be running something else, and I'll talk about it when I talk about that comp, but for the most part, we want to have a 4-piece Crimson set. Now we're going to talk about team comps. Hutao has some very cheap team comps. Most of our characters don't have to be built that much, just a little bit of energy recharge here and there, and we'll be perfectly fine because most of our damage is going to come from Hutao. Here is our first comp that we're going to be running, is Vaporize Comp. This comp is centered around Shinshu to apply Hydro, and we vaporize with Hutao. So with Shinshu here, honestly you can put anyone else in these 2 slots and it'll be fine, but it's going to be less optimal. The most optimal comp you can run with this is like a C1 Shinling. C1 Shinling allows you to just lower the enemy power resistance by 15% for 6 seconds when hit by Goba. So just make a Hutao do a little more damage. And then for the last fight, you can put someone like Amino support in. Sucrose is very good because with full Viridescent, we will be able to lower the enemy resistance by 40% if we swirl them with Pyro. So 15 plus the 40, we're lowering the resistance by 55% and just a massive damage increase. And also, if you have Sucrose leveled up to around 60 ascended, we can get more Elemental Mastery to make our Vaporize do even more damage, but Elemental Mastery become less useful when you get over to like 200. So if you're using something like a Dragon's Bane on Hutao, Sucrose is not that needed because with Dragon's Bane, we are going to get a lot of Elemental Mastery, and the second we exceed that 200 Elemental Mastery, it becomes less and less useful. So you don't need to have Sucrose leveled, or you can use another amino like character such as Venti, or even the Amino MC, or Viridescent Shell if you're crazy enough. But another option you can use is someone with a shield like Noelle or Diona, but I recommend someone like Zhongli if you do have Zhongli. I don't have Zhongli, but Zhongli can replace Sucrose as well. And of course, if you don't have C1 Shinling, you can use Bennett. Bennett works really good as well. But if you don't have Bennett or C1 Shinling, because Bennett honestly works better in other comps, like I said in my other video. So if you don't have any of these characters, you can run something like an amino support, like Venti, if you don't need the Elemental Mastery from Sucrose. And then you can throw someone in like Zhongli. So this is our next comp, which is the Freeze Melt comp. I talked about this a little bit in my melt video about Hutao, But since Hutao didn't come out at the time yet, I couldn't really test it. But now that Hutao came out, I can actually test this comp, and I can say this comp's pretty good. So this is a really low investment comp again. But it's a little bit higher investment in my opinion compared to the first Vaporize comp, because we do need high energy recharge on Shinshu and Kaya to have their ults up 100% of the time, trying to match Hutao's E uptime. And Shinshu here, at C2, you can just lower our elemental skill. I don't have C2 Shinshu, and I couldn't get him in my poll, so it's kind of sad I don't have him at C2. C2 will be really nice, but C1 is also decent. This comp is going to take advantage of Shinshu's Rain Sword applying Hydro and Kaya's ultimate applying Cryo to cause freeze to happen. And because the way freeze works in this game and elements being applied during freeze, we can actually vaporize and melt at the same time with Hutao. The only downside of this comp, again, you need energy recharge. You need a lot of energy recharge. I have 190 energy recharge on my Shinshu, and on my Kaya I don't have any energy recharge, just because I haven't really built him that much. I only have 145, but it's not enough. We want to be at least 160 up to 200% energy recharge. So that's a downside of this team comp, is that we need a lot of energy recharge, but it's really good. This is the third comp I'm going to be talking about, which is the Electro Charge comp. So this comp, again, we're going to be using Shinshu, so please try to get a Shinshu in your pulse. Don't be super unlucky. Shinshu is just really good. And we're going to use another Electro character that can apply Electro while being off field. Someone like Fischl, Lisa, someone like those. Fischl is slightly better than Lisa in my opinion, because Lisa ult just kind of knocks everyone out of the ult, so it's not as good as Fischl's Oz. And this comp is pretty low investment. You just need Shinshu to be having a high energy recharge again. But with Fischl, you don't have to have any really investment on her. You just want to have her Oz and maybe some energy recharge so you can get ult faster to have Oz up 100% of the time. I don't have any artifacts on her, but that's okay. Very low investment. And Shining C1 just here to lower some power resistance. You can change this out for like Zhongli here if you want as well. Another Geo character for shield if you really need it. But Shining's here pretty good. Gives a little bit of free attack from power resistance as well. So this comp takes advantage of Hydro and Electro to do Electro Charge together. And just because of the way Electro Charge works, we can actually do Overload and Vaporize on Hutao at the same time. So this comp is really good, and you can see it from the damage here. It's pretty insane, and it's really good. For the last comp, I only really recommend this comp if you didn't pull Shinshu, or if you're using him in another team that cannot not have him in the comp. But if you can, please use your Shinshu in a Hutao comp, because it's much better. This comp is alright, but it's not as good as the other comps. This comp is the Mono Pyro comp, and for this comp we're going to be running someone like a Pyro support, and then 2 Amino support or 2 Geo supports. So for Amino support, we can be running something like Sucrose or Venti, or even the Amino MC. And for Geo, you kind of want to run something like with a shield. Someone like Zhongli is a really good option. Noelle is also decent, but not as good as Zhongli. Zhongli can do a lot more sub DPS, and it's much better. And then having Geo MC is also pretty good. With someone like Albedo, again, is also very good. So with this comp, it's going to be a lot of high investments, because we are going to be lacking a lot of the reaction damage we are going to get from the other comps. So we have to build our sub DPS characters up much more than we need for the other team comps. This is the only comp we're not going to be running Crimson Witch set, because we're not doing reactions. So we're going to be running something like a 4-piece Lava Walker for the damage if they're affected by Pyro. Or we can be running Retracing Bolide for a Geo comp if you're going to value the shield, but it is going to be less damage compared to the Lava Walker set. So if you want more damage, go for Lava Walker. If you like the shield, go for Retracing Bolide. It's going to be slightly less damage compared to the Lava Walker. In general, I wouldn't really recommend running this Mono Pyro comp, because it's just not as good as having reactions. Having those reactions saves you so much more resources, because you only have to really build Hutao to do damage. But with something like this, you kind of need your other sub DPS character to kind of carry some of the weight for damage. So now that you know which team comp you're going to be running, I'm going to show you guys how to do a full combo on these comps to use them most effectively. So I'm going to be testing the Vaporize comp first here. So for the Vaporize comp, we're gonna drop a Goba on the enemy first to lower their pyro resistance. If that hits, so that hits, that's gonna lower enemy resistance, and then we're gonna switch to Sucrose. That will lower the enemy resistance even more because we need to use the Pyro. And now we're gonna just Shinchu ultimate to apply Hydro. And then after we're gonna switch to Hutao and just do charge attacks. So this will melt 100% of the time. I'm not gonna kill the Ruin Guard because I had to test my other comps on him as well. So, oh, he died. But also, during your E, you want to have your ultimate go off sometime in between your E to do the Vaporize damage, to do maximum damage. So our next comp is going to be the Freeze Melt comp. So we're going to E on Chunyan. We're going to switch to Shinshu and then ult on Shinshu, followed by E. And then we're going to switch to Kaya, E, and then followed by the ult. And then we're going to switch to Hutao to do damage. So now let me demonstrate. We're going to do the E, ultimate, press our E. We're going to press it twice if we want. E on Kaya and then ultimate, and then we just switch to Hutao and we just do charge attacks. I can see we're doing Vaporize and Melt together. I accidentally killed the guy again. Now we're going to take a look at the Electro Charge comp. So I found another test subject here again because I keep killing them, but let's get ultimate on Shinshu first. So we're going to always Shinshu and then we're going to switch to Official to do Electro Charge, and then we're going to switch to Hutao and just do charge attacks. Okay, so in there I forgot to use Goba E, but tried to Goba E before as well, so I forgot to do that there. But to something to remember, you can Goba E and then switch, do the full combo. For our last comp, I'm gonna be showing the double Geo comp. Double Amino is gonna be about the same, but I'm gonna show double Geo. Keep in mind the damage you see here is gonna be very low because I don't have Geo characters built up and I don't have the correct weapons or artifacts here to show you the proper amount of damage. But this comp should be the simplest one. You just kinda drop Shin Ling there. You can even Shin Ling ult. You can switch to a... Well, I was gonna say you can switch to a Geo character shield, switch to Hutao and just do charge attacks. Of course, you're gonna be running Lava Walkers, so you can do a lot more damage. I'm not using the best weapons either, so I'm doing a lot less damage. But that's how you use this team comp. It's pretty simple. There's nothing really complicated about it. This comp's really good if you don't like doing elemental reactions or switching characters. Personally, for me, I don't like switching characters too often, but just because the other comps are way more fun to play with, I don't use this comp that often. Thank you for watching this video. I'm not going to include a showcase just because my Hutao is still not fully built and I don't have the best stuff for her. So I'm just going to end it off with the video and I might make a showcase in the future. But for now, I'm not going to make a showcase just because my Hutao is not built. So have a nice day. Consider liking and subscribing.